Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at the World Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Luis Scott Vargas. We've got one more round of booster draft to bring you. This is, of course, triple Ixalan. Let's meet our players here for this round. We've got Seth Manfield from the United States as our first competitor. He said he felt confident in draft coming in to the tournament. He feels like he knows his role for that. Of course, 3 Pro Tour top 8s for him, and he has been our world champion just 2 years ago. His opponent, Josh Utter-Leyton, known as Raptor in some circles. He says this is by far his favorite Magic tournament to play in. Not close for Raptor. And as we come in here, these two players both have the same record. They're sitting at 6-3 as we get underway here in our last round of Limited for the event. We're going to be playing Standard for the rest of the day and on Sunday. So let's see what happens here. Red-white from Josh Utter-Leyton versus Seth Manfield, who's on blue-green. Although both decks tend to be assertive and more on the aggressive side of things here in Ixalan.
Yeah, and we've got an aggressive Merfolk deck on the hands of Seth Manfield, and then Josh playing a slightly less themed deck. It is dinosaur-based. He does have, Utter-Leyton's Knight and then Thrash of Raptors and whatnot, but he is not quite as heavily themed. He does have, Emissary of Sunrise and Headstrong Brute, just cards that are just good on their own.
Ixali's Keeper is the first play of the game. That comes down on Seth Manfield's side of the battlefield, but Josh has his own 2-drop with Utter-Leyton's Knight ready for blocks or attacks or whatever it is that Josh decides he wants to do. First big question for Seth is, does he offer the trade?
Seth is highly likely to attack here just because Utter-Leyton's Knight, will frequently attack as a 3-3, especially if Josh plays.
Oh, he's going to get in for a little bit more. New Horizons is going to put a counter and certainly incentivize an attack here from Seth Manfield. He's going to chip in there for 3 damage, knock Josh down to 17, and pass the turn back with potentially big things on the horizon for him. Let's see what Josh Utter-Leyton comes up with for his turn.
He's got a couple options here. He can play the Headstrong Brute that we were just talking about, or he can play Emissary of Sunrise. And the Headstrong Brute is a guaranteed 3-3. It has 3 power, and there even is another pirate in Josh's hand, in Fathom Fleet Firebrand, if he wants to curve out. So it's pretty tempting to go Brute, next turn play the Firebrand and have a 3-3 menace. On the other hand, Emissary of Sunrise can smooth out Josh's draws, gets to explore, and will be a 3-power creature some of the time if he flips a non-land card.
Yeah, Headstrong Brute is, in fact, the follow-up play, which means that Utter-Leyton's Knight only attacks for 2 damage, knocking Seth down to 18 before passing the turn back. Seth, though, with New Horizons, if he hits his land drop, could have access to 5 mana here in really any colors he wants, and well, he could just pull ahead based on that.
New Horizons not at its best in Seth's deck. He is not playing a very high curve deck. He's playing it, I think, largely because he just wants the +1/+1 counter. He's got a lot of cheap creatures, and it can help smooth out his draws in the middle of the game. But this isn't a ramp deck, so despite the presence of New Horizons, don't expect him to ramp into 5s and 6s all that often.
I'm surprised to see it in the list then. The counter's fine, but you're overpaying for it by a fair bit, and if you can't use the mana, New Horizons really isn't a slot that you're happy to have. And we can see that Josh using up his mana here quite impressively.
He played the 2 tribal enablers. He's got Utter-Leyton's Knight, which cares about the Raptor hatching as a dinosaur, and the Fathom Fleet Firebrand, which cares about which makes the Headstrong Brute into a menace card because it is a pirate. So
that's great.
Josh uniting the tribes of dinosaurs and pirates. I guess maybe Raptor, edges into both.
Yeah, he certainly does. That is great. He's going to attack here for 6 damage.
Yeah, Seth's going to trade Crash the Ramparts for the Utter-Leyton's Knight, which
he's going to be pretty happy with.
Yeah,
that,
it works out for Seth. He gets to use his mana on a turn where he otherwise wouldn't, but Josh is still really, kind of putting the screws to Seth because Josh gets 3 points of damage, and Raptor Hatching is such a good card in a ground race. It's not very good against flyers, but against ground creatures, like it can block the Ixali's Keeper here and put a 3-3 into the battlefield. So saving Josh 3 damage and putting a 3-3 into play.
Seth is going to cast Opt on his main phase here. Take a look at the card and say, yeah, I'd like that one. Put it in his hand.
I think I've ever actually done that. I think I've only sent cards to the bottom.
When you read Opt, it just says put a card on the bottom. What did he find here? That Dreadnought again?
Yeah, the Dusk Legion Dreadnought is a 4/6 Vigilant vehicle. So Seth kind of pumping the brakes. His Shaper Prince doesn't actually have flying, which is kind of a rarity. Every time we've seen that card in play, it has been a 2/1 flyer, but Seth kind of off-brand here. He's got a human and a merfolk and a vehicle.
And it's even like kind of a vampire vehicle, right?
It is a vampire-themed vehicle, though. Not particular synergy with vampires.
Right.
Unfortunately for Josh, Pious Interdiction, despite being a great removal spell, doesn't work against vehicles. So Josh is not on easy street when it comes to dealing with Seth's big threat. Normally when your opponent taps 5 mana for a threat and you have Pious Interdiction in hand, you're pretty happy about that. The Headstrong Brute can get in because it requires a double block, but that would just be trading straight up for Ixali's Keeper there. We might see the Vigilance on the Dusk Legion Dreadnought actually come into play here. It's not something you see very often, but it's possible Seth's crew attacks and then next turn keeps it back.
Okay, he's going to cast a Ryle here, though it looks like Josh is just interested in effectively cycling away the Ryle. He just wants to get the card out of it because it doesn't seem to be affecting combat this turn. Emissary of Sunrise for him is going to find him a 3rd red mana source here. But unfortunately for Josh, it means that his Emissary is going to stay at just 2 power here.
I like Josh's side of things just a little bit more here because he's got Raptor Hatchling to get a free block. He's got a decent amount of creatures that are better than Seth's except for that Dusk Legion Dreadnought. And Josh is about to play a Shining Aerosaur and end up in a spot where he has a 3/4 flyer and Seth doesn't have a whole lot. The Shaper Apprentice is a flyer now.
Yeah, the Kumina's Speaker is a merfolk, so that's going to make the Apprentice a flyer. And it looks like that's the only thing he's going to attack with.
And Josh still has that Pious Interdiction in hand, kind of ready to go, whereas Seth's just holding a lone forest. So I suppose we're getting close to Ixali's Keeper being able to activate its ability.
Attack with first, because I've got -3 and -3.
Yes, I got hit by this twice.
Okay. And you didn't get. Yes. Sounds okay? Okay.
Looks like the players' life totals might not have been synced up, but they've got it sorted out now. Josh is at 12 after taking 6 from the Ixali's Keeper as well as 2 in the air here.
And Seth's deciding whether he wants to play his land. I think he's supposed to because of the Ixali's Keeper there.
It does, of course, reveal to Utter-Leyton that there's nothing left in the tank here for Manfield. He's got no cards in hand.
Josh drew another land himself, so this game is close. Again, Josh is slightly ahead, but a good card from either side could really break this game open. That Dusk Legion Dreadnought is keeping Josh from attacking on the ground, but if Josh drew something like, say, a Sure Strike, that would change things. And Josh does have the Shining Aerosaur, which is going to put, you know, the biggest flyer onto the board.
That's right. It'll stop those attacks from the Shaper Apprentice as well as enable attacks from Josh's side when he's ready to go.
So Josh may be considering attacking with Headstrong Brute here because it has Menace, so it's going to force Seth to either trade off Kumina's Speaker, which drops Shaper Apprentice onto the ground, or trade off Ixali's Keeper, which has a decent amount of value here and is only getting better as Seth plays more lands. Looks like Josh is just going to wait until he wants to draw a combat trick, though.
Shining Aerosaur hits the battlefield for Utter-Leyton, passes the turn. Important top decks here from Manfield's side. Let's see, is that a gas?
Ooh, Manfield's got an Overflowing Insight in his deck, so
Ooh,
when you have that card in your deck, you're always drawing live.
you certainly are. Well, in this case, though, he draws kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Another 1-drop. This is another Kumina's Speaker, which doesn't really change the equation a ton here. Wow, that was a Vampire Zeal off the top, I think, for Josh.
It was, and that is kind of interesting because combined with a Fathom Fleet Firebrand, he could take down the Dusk Legion Dreadnought. Though Seth at this point might not even offer the Dreadnought. He would just block the Firebrand with a Kumina Speaker because he has excess 2/2s to spare here. 6 toughness on the Dreadnought is effective. None of Josh's creatures can really get up that far except for the Firebrand. And if Josh trades off the Firebrand, he loses Menace on the Headstrong Brute, so pretty big reason not to do that.
So he's just going to attack with the Shining Aerosaur, even up the life totals. And is he going to go for the Pious Interdiction here?
He is. He doesn't want that Shaper Apprentice to be hitting him for 2 a turn, and he's just going to nip that in the bud and just gain the 2 life now and be in a spot where there's not a race going on right now. Unless Seth draws something, it's 3 versus 0.
Right, and this is Josh just recognizing that the ground is sufficiently gummed up so that neither player has good attacks there, and he has the advantage in the air, and he's just going to lock up that advantage here and turn this game into a 4-turn clock for him, which doesn't always work out.
Well, a big reason to do that is that Ixali's Keeper sitting there. Seth's 1 mana away from activating it, giving +5/+5 and trample. And let's say Josh took 3 hits off Shaper Apprentice, we might be in a spot where Ixali's Keeper just threatens lethal and Seth gets to attack with a bunch of creatures. So Josh wants to just avoid that, keep his life total high, and now, even if Seth hits his 8 mana, which it looks like he's debating playing potentially here, Josh can just block, say, a Kumena Speaker with his own 2/2, and then force Seth to either use it or and just trade Ixali's Keeper down, or just let the 2 creatures trade. So Josh really does want to keep his life total out of range because of the potential damage that Seth represents. And now that Seth is also just straight up, not even racing, just getting hit, he might want to send in Dust Legion Dreadnought. The downside to that, though, is if he ends up trading off the Dreadnought, then that opens the door for Josh to start attacking back. But it looks like the Dreadnought's going to get in there.
No land drop here for Manfield.
And that guarantees the card in his hand is not a land, and there's a decent chance it's something like River Herald's Boon. Seth has 2 of them, so I think Josh is going to have to keep that in mind when deciding how to block here.
Yeah, we haven't got a good look at what he drew for the turn, and we're going to have to play kind of from the seat of Josh Utter-Leyton here and have to try to guess at it.
Well, one thing that tempts me if I'm Josh to try to take down the Dreadnought here is that you have Vampire Zeal in hand, and Seth may not have accounted for it.
As it turns out, it was a nice one. It was Colossal Dreadmaw that he drew.
Oh, that was good.
That was a nice one. Josh, by the way, just ended up chump blocking with the Raptor Hatchling, turning it into a full-on 3/3 trampling dinosaur there. But all of a sudden, the ground game doesn't look the way it did before, does it? Now the 6/6 has changed things dramatically here for Seth. Though he is still taking hits in the air from the Shining Aerosaur.
And Josh drew a 2nd Vampire Zeal, though conspicuously absent vampires. It's still an effective trick. And Josh also has now enough mana to pump the Fathom Fleet Firebrand 3 times and still use one of the 2 Vampire Zeals. So the Firebrand actually represents a lot of damage on a potential block here. That's another reason to wait for Josh, is he gets to untap with all his mana and then start using the Firebrand in order to make it a bit more effective of a block.
Also interesting is that it does shorten the clock. If he's going to use 2 Vampire Zeals on the Shining Aerosaur, he could get in for 7 in 1 hit. So it's 2 turns rather than 3.
And he does need both for that. One is not really going to affect it. Though it's also possible that Seth makes an aggressive attack and then Josh ends up getting a Headstrong Brute in there, for example.
So there's a lot going on here in Game 1 between Josh Utter-Leyton and Seth Manfield. It is not entirely clear who's going to win this one. He is considering an attack with both the Dreadmaw and the boat.
And if you're Josh, you really do want to try to get your blocks in before Seth hits that 8th land. Because once Ixali's Keeper is active, that makes combat so much more difficult. Oh wow, Kumena Speaker getting in also.
Remember, the Headstrong Brute cannot block, so that's not something that he's going to have to consider, but Josh is sitting there with a 2/1 first striking Emissary of Sunrise.
This really screams out River Herald's Boon to me. That's one reason to get Kumena Speaker in against Josh's 3/3, for example, or his 2/1 first strike. Remember, Josh has 2 Vampire Zeals in hand, so let's say Josh puts Emissary of Sunrise on the Kumena Speaker. that'll prompt Seth to use River Herald's Boon before first strike damage. Josh can then Vampire Zeal, win that combat, regardless of where Seth puts the extra +1/+1 counter. And then you can also put your 3/3 and your 2/2, your Dinosaur and your Firebrand on either Dreadmaw or Dreadnought, and Seth, even if he has River Herald's Boon, you still trade off. Plus, you can potentially use Vampire Zeal to save one of your creatures, or both. If you put the 3/3 and the 2/2 on the 4/6, and the 3/3 gets ordered as the first blocker, and then you Vampire Zeal, making it a 5/5, you don't lose either creature. So these are all possibilities that could happen here, but I think it does start with Emissary of Sunrise on Kumena's Speaker. Because of First Strike, that makes Seth blink first. That makes Seth need to take the initiative, or you just get that free card and don't have to worry about it. The passing of priority is a little complicated here. I don't think you can just take 10 here. I think that you're going to want to make some other blocks. Though, one advantage of not blocking here, if Josh wants to take a slightly riskier line,
Which is what he's going to do.
is try to finish the game on the backswing with Vampire Zeals.
Yes, he's going to try to leverage those to get in for the win here. And this is getting really interesting because now Seth, the priority's now on him. This is his last chance to play any instant speed effects that he'd like to do. If he passes priority, then it's back on Josh, and he can say, sure, I take 10.
So Seth has River Herald's Boon here. Josh is going to use Vampire Zeal on the Emissary of Sunrise to win that combat. And then Josh attacks back with everything. Seth can block 2 creatures. And yeah, Josh is going to have lethal here. Because now, regardless of where Seth puts the counters here, again, Josh can make it so Vampire Zeal makes his Emissary of Sunrise survive this combat, whether the Speaker is a 4/4 or a 3/3, because Vampire Zeal gives +2/+2, and it already has First Strike, even though it's not a Vampire. So Sunrise lives. Josh doesn't take lethal here. Josh takes 10 plus potentially 1 more from Boon, so 11. Seth has 2 blockers back, and Josh has 5 attackers, 2 of which have evasion, plus a Vampire Zeal in hand. Because even though the Dust Legion Dreadnought has Vigilance, it doesn't add a blocker.
No.
It requires 1 to crew, so.
And this looks like a good line of play here from Josh.
So he
decided just to let it die.
He's letting his Emissary of Sunrise die. It is actually the same. It's 2 points of damage one way or the other.
Right. Whether it's attacking or for vampires. And this is Josh Utter-Leyton attacking with all 4 creatures because he knows he's got it in the bag now. He's going through the motions. Remember, Seth Manfield has no cards left in hand. So nothing to play around here from Josh Utter-Leyton, and that means that he knows he's good to go here. So Seth Manfield, of course, does not know his hand. So he's going to have to go through the motions here. The Dreadnought's going to get fired up. He's going to throw a couple of blocks in, and then we're going to see a pair of Vampire Zeals finish off Seth Manfield from whatever doesn't get blocked here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how Seth orders the blockers here.
Yeah, he's taking 6 +2/+2, bang, bang, and that is going to be game 1 going to Josh Utter-Leyton. Seth Manfield can't believe it. He leans back in his chair and says, yeah, it's plenty enough. That's 10 damage. I'm at 9 life. And that means that Josh Utter-Leyton has won game number 1. That was a close and exciting game. We're going to bring you more limited action here from the World Championship right after these messages.
Check out Ixalan Booster Draft Leagues on Magic Online. Draft anytime, play anytime. Available now. For more information, visit mtgo.com.
Grand Prix events offer great experiences for players of all skill levels. These Magic celebrations are headlined by 2-day open tournaments with pro players, feature top artist signings, and host a wide range of side events. Find an upcoming Grand Prix event near you at magic.wizards.com/Grand Prix.
So I can talk to
And
you
welcome
about
back. We are here in Boston, Massachusetts, covering the Worlds, as we call it here, the World Championship for Magic the Gathering. We're going to take a quick live look in here. Sam Black versus William Huey Jensen, and to the shock of absolutely nobody, Huey's up a game here. Though it looks like Sam has once again successfully engineered a bit of a board stall here, where his deck tends to shine in the late part of the game.
That said, Sam does not have Vanquisher's Banner in play.
No.
And that's like one of the key reasons that his deck does win those long games.
Though it looks like Jensen does not have any attacks. That's 2 turns in a row that he simply passed the turn back, and the players are both just playing quickly and off the top of the library here.
Well, a Suncrown Raptors from Jensen is going to really shake things up because it looks like he's got Sure Strike in hand as well.
Ooh, that is a pain. Just a big
It looks
5/4.
like fiery Cannonade, which
That also does some
it
work,
does a little bit of damage, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Priest of the Awakening Sun there for Sam Black, though, once again. Though we've seen him search up Bellowing Aegisaur and a Colossal Dreadmaw with it thus far. Not exactly getting superb game-ending bombs, but solid stuff. He needs Awakening Sun's avatar in this deck. That's what he needs.
It's like the way in which somebody could lose the match and feel like they didn't really have fair shake.
One of the huge stories here from this tournament thus far is still taking place in front of you. That's William Huey Jensen refusing to lose. He once again comes into this round with no losses on his record. He's 9-0. And if he can win this game or the next one, he will be 10-0.
At 10-0, he is firmly locked.
Then he's
at
locked.
9-0, I think he's just about locked because it's hard to imagine him losing 5, but also have enough other people getting to 10-4. But trust me, I know Huey. He's not going to feel safe until he's like 11-0. At 10-0, he's still going to worry. But what if what if I miss on tie breaks or something?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. That's just part of his personality. Direfleet Interloper here for Jensen is going to reveal a land.
And Jensen has a lot of tricks here, but he really just doesn't want to tangle because...
Ooh!
Oh, there
Ooh.
we go.
Vanquisher's Banner off the top for Sam Black. That could very easily put this thing right back in his favor. It looks like a bit of a standoff. And Black is actually checking to see how many cards left in
It's
library.
like 12 for Jensen. Looks like 15 for Sam.
I counted 2.
Library 15.
Yeah, 15.
Looks like that Marauding Looter did some work for Jensen.
But it looked like 12.
So Sam now concerned that this game may come to decking, though if Jensen hasn't used Hostage Taker yet, that is going to be a pretty big swing.
Well, when you say concerned, isn't he enthusiastic about that outcome? He's 3 cards up on Jensen right now.
Well, when it comes to playing Vanquisher's Banner, that does change the map.
I see, because it could potentially crimp his ability to cast things. Is that a Demolish?
Oh yeah, sideboarded Demolish.
Oh, Huey. He loves bringing in Demolish. What he really likes to blow up are lands,
Yeah.
but he'll settle for...
But he knows he
Vanquisher's
can't just
Banner.
get away with putting a Demolish into his deck to blow up lands, but if he has an excuse to bring it in and then happens to blow up a land, now that's just good, clean fun.
That's right. That is exactly how he loves to play. That's pretty funny. This is a really interesting situation here because there's just not much going on for either player. Sam knows that he doesn't really have the onus on him to do anything at the moment.
Well, William might be able to stack up enough combat tricks and potentially a Hostage Taker to just break through. Because imagine if Jensen draws Hostage Taker, takes Bellowing Aegisaur, plays his own Bellowing Aegisaur, then casts the Fiery Cannonade with Aegisaur on his side of the board.
No, that is super sick if that happens. Unfortunately, since we've been here, both players have drawn a ton of lands.
Ooh, wow.
That's a
Atop Archer to potentially shoot Sam's own Bellowing Aegisaur.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
He wants to make sure to play out his dinosaurs first. Gonna have to pay an extra for that one, right?
So
It's not a dino.
Well, yeah, it resolves.
Oh, he only had to pay 1 for the hammer skull, my mistake. So there's an Atsakan Archer, and it is in fact going to try to tussle, and this could be the game going to Sam Black. That is going to be really difficult to overcome for Jensen.
And Jensen does have Fiery Cannonade in hand. He may have been waiting to draw his second Fiery Cannonade, but he doesn't have a way to prevent the Aegisaur Archer interaction from happening. So, well, Sam's whole team gets a +1/+1 counter. Minus, of course, the Bellowing Aegisaur.
You heard Jensen.
Oh yeah, Bring It has been called.
Yeah. Man, Sam has really signed up for the math class today, though. Every round we've seen, he's had these absurdly huge built-out boards.
Well, one thing
He's just going to pass.
One thing that's dangerous for Sam. Oh, Vanquish the Weak, a turn too late there.
It actually does kill the Bellowing Aegisaur, though. Oh, he needed it last turn.
Is William could potentially use a Suncrown Hunter's ability a bunch of times. Each Fiery Cannonade deals 3 to Sam. William did play a Stormfleet Pyromancer there, so he's giving up the ability there. But eventually, William could maybe stack together enough triggers off the Suncrown Hunters to burn Sam out. Well, we know he's got 2 Cannonades, and he already has a Lightning Strike, so that's 9 points of damage right there.
Okay, okay. I'm listening. That's interesting.
Sam, with his 2 Territorial Hammer Skulls, looking at Jensen having 6 blockers back, Sam with 7 big attackers and then 4 smaller attackers. Kind of deciding how much damage can I get through here? Can I force Jensen into some bad blocks? Unfortunately for Sam, the fact that Jensen has Vanquish the Weak, Cannonade, Lightning Strike, like this is going to add up to a lot of interaction in the middle of combat.
I just want to see if Sam actually lines up an attack here or not. He's doing the math and kind of moving some cards around to see what blocks would look like here. Jensen is down to 12, and Sam Black has an absolutely massive board state going on his side.
But Sam only has lands in hand, and Huey's got 4 instants in hand, so that's a lot of tricks to have up. Though, funnily enough, I think Huey is not, he's maybe a mana short of playing all of the cards at once. He's 2 mana short. He can't play all of the cards at once, but it's also not that likely to want to play Fiery Cannonade this turn necessarily. And of course, if Sam goes all in and Huey survives, then Huey's
We are getting a huge attack here from Sam Black. Look at this.
And Huey not vanquishing the Territorial Hammer Skull before attacking and doing a good job of concealing that he has it.
Mm-hmm.
So, presumably he's pretty happy with how this lines up as well. So,
Oh boy.
Colossal
I
Dreadmaw.
need you to put the LSV microchip on this one, because this is a lot going on here.
So, Colossal Dreadmaw deals 7. That knocks Huey to 5. Again, the way I would start by looking at this is, let's just say you just take the Giant Trampler, and then you see what good blocks you can line up past that. Vanquish can kill most of Huey's creatures as well here, or Sam's creatures as well here. The Territorial Hammer Skulls are 3/4s. They can get blocked by, double blocked by 2/2s, blocked by a 4/3. You've got Sure Strike as well.
So first things first, Jensen's going to use Vanquish the Weak on the Armosaur.
I do like Sure Strike plus Marauding Looter to take down the Dreadmaw. Double block the 2 Territorial Hammer Skulls. You take a chunk of damage, you take 8, but you trade 2 2/2s, a Sure Strike and a Vanquish for 4 of Sam's gigantic dinosaurs, and now Hugh's, I think, winning on board. Because now Huey has a ton of potentially big attackers. Sam with 5 untapped creatures, so Huey can't quite get in there, but again, he paid a bunch of life points in order to get an advantageous attack, and wow, that pounce could change things significantly, and if Sam had it last turn, that would have been a massacre, but Bellowing Aegisaur pounce is still a good combo, so this could actually be really dangerous for Huey, especially since Sam didn't have that last turn. Huey isn't necessarily just going to play around it right off the top.
And we see that pounce right here in the main phase. Sam looking to close the door on this game against Jensen. And I think it's going to work for him too. It's hard to imagine Jensen coming back from this. 14-9. Look at that board state from Sam Black.
Well, this is fairly troublesome for Jensen.
He's got a lot of blockers.
He still has 6 blockers, and
Okay, no attack.
Sam is declining to attack.
Another land off the top though for Jensen. He's going to keep that one in his hand. Commune with Dinosaurs was the draw step there for Black.
Sam really actually wants to find Encampment Keeper.
He cannot.
He'll settle for a Colossal Dreadmaw, I think.
Wow, so Encampment Keeper's the last card in his deck?
I think he has more cards left.
Okay. It looked like there weren't that many, but
There's not a ton, but
look, there's only 3 left for Jensen.
and so Sam has 6 then, or 5 now. There's the Hostage Taker.
Well, we saw 5 from the...
Yeah, but they
Oh, and there's a Hostage Taker. And
so
he says, I'm going to play.
this is what Jensen's been waiting for because he has Fiery Cannonade up.
Oh, man.
So I think
Looming Altasaur for
it's
Black.
possible
Go.
Sam sided out Encampment Keepers as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
Especially since Jensen has multiple Cannonades.
Yeah, we see the Looming Altasaur there. He didn't have that in the other one.
So Jensen looking very intently here. He doesn't have a ton of turns left, but I think he might be in a spot where he could pull this out. He has double Fiery Cannonade, so he can actually do it turn by turn, give his whole team +2/+2. Get 2 triggers off Suncon Raptors. That puts Sam down to 13.
Jensen's doing a quick check of his graveyard. He'll be able to figure out what his last card is by process of elimination. The problem that he faces here is that A, he can't take any damage on the crackback effectively at all, and B, he needs to kill Sam because he's going to get decked.
Also, the Cannonades unfortunately don't take out any of Sam's creatures intrinsically, so he has to wait till Sam does some blocks before ending up in a spot where that matters.
Here comes some attackers, though, from Jensen. We're still in the middle of this game. This is game 2.
Oh, he's trying to decide what is the last card. What do I have that's going to change this? How many attacks do I need? The Queen's Bay Soldier is the least relevant card on the board because it will die to the first Fiery Cannonade.
That's right. It is, in fact, a vampire.
Sam, deeply aware about Fiery Cannonade. He knows that Jensen's board is going to get +1/+1, potentially +2/+2 because they're so late in the game they've gone through almost their entire decks. So he knows Jensen just has it.
Yeah, it also makes sense that that would be one of the cards that Jensen hasn't really found a great moment to cast it. Jensen has been playing absolutely top form Magic all day yesterday and today, has not lost a match, has made some very impressive comebacks. Yesterday we saw him cast Memory in Standard to tap out and send the turn back to Brad Nelson, who had 7 lands and a full grip of cards after the Memory, and win anyway. Here though, this may be too much.
Very impressive win from Jensen.
Yeah.
Every time I see one of Sam's matches and it always ends up like this, I'm just thinking like, yeah, you made this. Sam was the one who put this deck together. You know, we're actually edging on the possibility of a draw here because Jensen's up a game. If he loses this game and they go to game 3, that is something that could happen.
It's true. Sam has shown that he has built a deck capable of powering through to the late game, and it does have some level of power in the late game as well with the encampment keepers, though it looks like Sam somehow has built, let's see, white-green milieu control. I'm just gonna, you know, wait you out.
That is in fact Sam's milieu, I think. Like, white-green control is one of the most Sam Black things I've ever heard.
You are going deep, but yes, you are not incorrect.
And as is Sam.
Yeah, and we're seeing here Sam line up potential blocks. This has obviously become a rather complicated.
You know, we're not 0% to have Seth and Josh's game up in the top right end before this combat step. Seth's on all islands, and Josh had Tillinolly's Knight into Sky Terror.
So let's order those blockers. Caller, then Altasaur, or the order. Now we're going to see that first fiery cannonade. Now that is going to trigger a couple of enraged creatures here, and as you mentioned, he may as well throw in with the soldier.
Oh yeah, so this fiery cannonade gives all of Huey's pirates just straight up +1/+1. They don't even take damage from the cannonade. Queen's Bay Soldier unfortunately does not live to get the counter. It was so close. And Suncrown Hunters gets a counter, triggers its enrage on Sam, which would knock Sam to 16, but does take the 2 damage, so currently the Suncrown Hunters will die in combat.
You never know. So he's going to fire off the other one here. Tick up everything to 2.
Sam takes another 3 off of the Suncrown Hunters.
Now it falls down to 13 life, and now we're finally going to get to damage, it looks like.
So currently the Headstrong Brute that got triple blocked is going to die. The Deadeye Tormentor is also going to die. The Grazing Whiptail is going to die. The Headstrong Brute dealing 5 can take out actually both of the Kinjali's collars because they've each taken 4 damage off of cannonades. Sam is going to take an additional 5 damage, dropping to 8 off the unblocked Headstrong Brute. And this leaves William in position to try to finish off the game over the course of the next couple turns. William could also keep Suncrown Hunters alive by casting a Lightning Strike on the Ixali's Diviner if he so chooses. He'll end up with a 7/6 Suncrown Hunters at the end of this combat.
And that would be his last spell in hand. He's got 2 lands left. So that Bellowing Aegisaur took a bit of a beating in that combat step, but boy, did it bring gifts for Jensen. Look at his board now. 3 +1/+1 counters on everything that had survived.
Oh, no, no. Yeah, no,
Oh, these, hold on, sorry.
The Deadeye Tormentor still dies.
everything's taken 4.
Right, everything's taking
These
yeah,
do
I
die.
agree that they're dying. I was just thinking before combat. I was thinking that there was another pirate that doesn't have that. Okay. Alright, so we're on resolution of combat damage?
Yeah.
Suncrown
So
Hunters
this thing
still dies.
Right, and you're taking 3
Right.
more from that.
It did take 4.
10,
Right, and you take 6 from the unblocked group.
so I go to 4.
Wow, so with the trigger and the damage from the Brood,
Oh, it's taken 0.
Sam Black is actually falling to 4 life here?
He is, and then Sam is now facing down
And then
6 lethal creatures with 4 creatures of his own.
Oh my god.
So Sam now needs to draw something quite good to get out of this. Another Grazing Whiptail is just not going to do it.
Are you kidding me? How did this turn around like that?
And Sam can't even attack back. The Stormfleet Arsonist just eats the Colossal Dreadmaw. Like, who's actually Colossal here?
Oh, my God. The players are now each at 4 life, and Jensen wins again. He found the victory.
William Jensen just putting on a masterclass here at the World Championship.
He is playing against some of the best players in the world, and he is making mincemeat of them. He's now 10-0 and just crushing the field here. Unbelievable stuff for our booster draft round. We got to end with a flourish.
Also, I want to point out that Josh Utter-Leyton defeated Seth Manfield in that game about the time that combat step ended.
Okay.
That was the whole game right there.
That's the whole game. So fantastic stuff for Limited. Thank you so much for joining us for that. It is now time, of course, for us to transition into Standard. We'll be back with that and some halftime stuff after these messages.